no sleep. Still show up. The sun rises even when your chest feels like it's caving in. Every rep you push through, you reclaim a little more of your power. You're tired? So is everyone else. And here's the hard truth. Nobody cares. Not about your exhaustion. Not about the night you barely made it through. Not about the thoughts that screamed inside your head at 2 a.m. The world doesn't pause to check in. It moves. With or without you. But that's not cruelty. That's clarity. Because if no one's coming to pull you up, then every step you take forward, that's yours. That's your proof. Your choice. Your fire. Some people spend their lives perfecting excuses. They decorate them, justify them, post about them. Others, they get up. They grind through tears. They lift with sore muscles and work on broken sleep. One builds a reason. The other builds a result. Same pain, different story. Let's talk about that story. There's a woman in Ohio. 2 kids, 2 jobs. She gets up before the sun, jogs 2 miles in the cold, and shows up to work with a coffee she can barely afford. Why? Because she's tired of waiting for life to notice her. She's decided to notice herself. That's not talent. That's not luck. That's discipline. And discipline doesn't care how you feel. It cares that you show up. So here's the mirror. Are you moving or making excuses? You say you're overwhelmed. You say no one understands. But someone out there with less sleep, less support, less time just passed you. Not because they're better, but because they stopped waiting to feel ready. Read that again. There are days when your body aches and your spirit wavers. You'll want someone to notice, to validate your effort, and no one will. Not really. But that's where your power begins, in that silence. Can you still show up when there's no applause? That's the question. Because comfort never built resilience. Validation never made a warrior. You will rise not when you're rewarded, but when you refuse to stay down. Think of every time you chose effort over excuse, every quiet win no one saw, every hour of practice, every skipped party, every early morning that made you question your sanity. That's not wasted. That's who you are when no one's looking. There's a single dad in Detroit who finishes his shift at midnight, eats toast in the dark, and trains for a marathon before his kids wake up. He's not chasing fame, he's chasing himself. A better version, a future he refuses to postpone. Nobody's clapping for him, no one hands him a trophy. But if you ask him what he's earning, he'll say, self-respect. And that's everything. So if you're feeling unseen, good. That means you're not doing this for approval. You're doing it because you've decided excuses don't deserve to win. When was the last time you pushed through just to prove to yourself that you could? That pit in your stomach? That's not weakness. That's hunger for more, for growth, for the life on the other side of effort. Let the world stay silent. Let your mind scream. Let your legs tremble. And still rise. Nobody owes you, and that's your freedom. Because when you earn it, when you fight for it, when you bleed and sweat and cry for it, it's yours. Nobody cares. Work harder. The story you're writing isn't about who notices. It's about who keeps going anyway. And next, we face the question that haunts every dreamer. Can you choose discipline over excuses? Because if you can, everything changes. But maybe you're thinking, what if I try and still fail? Then try again. Failure isn't the end. It's proof you showed up. It means you dared. And in a world full of spectators, that alone puts you in a different category. The kind that fights. The kind that doesn't wait for permission to begin. Every great story started with someone who refused to quit. They were tired. They were doubted. They had nothing. But they moved. They acted. They didn't wait for perfect. They just started, right there in the middle of the mess. You don't need more time. You need more truth. And the truth is this, there will always be a reason to wait, a reason to stay tired, a reason to pause. But your reason to rise has to be stronger. Your why has to outlast your excuses. So ask yourself, what are you feeding today? Your fear or your focus? Because the body follows the mind. And the moment you decide your future matters more than your feelings, that's the moment things shift. 1 hour, one choice, one uncomfortable rep. That's all it takes to prove to yourself you're still in the game. You don't need to shout about it. Just show up. You don't need to prove them wrong. Just prove yourself right. The sun will rise tomorrow. Will you rise with it? Obsession is lonely but powerful. You may suffer in silence or regret aloud. Every sacrifice counts. Every one. You want to build something extraordinary? Then get ready to be misunderstood. Get ready to be alone. Get ready to be questioned. Not by strangers, but by the people closest to you. Because the moment you choose discipline, the world starts whispering, "You've changed." And they're right. You've stopped drinking on Fridays. You've started rising before the sun. You cancel plans to train. You spend your nights learning instead of scrolling. You're building something they can't see yet. But you see it. You feel it. And that's enough. Still, let's not lie. It's hard. It's hard to walk into the gym when your friends are still asleep. It's hard to say no to comfort again and again when every part of you wants to rest. It's hard to keep choosing the road no one's clapping for. But here's the deeper truth. It's harder to live with regret. It's harder to look back one day and realize you talked more than you tried, that you paused more than you pushed, that you could have, but didn't. Excuses are soft. They're easy. They feel like a warm blanket on a cold morning. But that comfort, it costs your future. Discipline is cold steel, sharp, demanding, but it shapes you. It cuts away who you're not to reveal who you can be. So choose, right now. Are you nurturing your limits or your potential? You can't hold both. The mind loves comfort, but the soul craves growth, and growth demands trade-offs. You give up ease for excellence. You give up approval for progress. Obsession beats talent every time. Because obsession shows up when motivation dies. It keeps going when the spotlight fades. It's the quiet hunger behind every no you say to the world and every yes you whisper to your vision. And yes, it's lonely. You'll clap for yourself for years before anyone else notices. You'll sacrifice sleep, parties, free time, all without applause. You'll cry in private, then wipe your face and grind in public. But in that space, something sacred grows. Integrity. You become the person who follows through, who keeps promises, not to others, but to yourself. But something better, integrity. The quiet, unshakable truth that you became the kind of person who followed through. Not because it was easy, not because it was loud, but because you refused to betray yourself again. That's rare, that's powerful, and that's what changes your life. Because once you face the mirror and don't flinch, once you stare down the version of you that gave up too soon, once you stop asking for the world to believe in you, because you finally believe in yourself, that's the day everything shifts. You become dangerous to your old excuses, to your former limits, to every narrative that said you couldn't. And from that moment forward, you don't move because you feel like it. You move because you said you would, because that's who you are now. Discipline over excuses, not a mantra, but your identity. So let the others wait, let them scroll, let them shrink. You rise. Not because it's the trend, but because it's your turning point. The voice inside you, it's not asking for permission anymore. It's claiming ground. It's showing up before sunrise. It's choosing sweat over sleep, silence over applause, truth over comfort. You don't need another someday. You need a streak, a string of ordinary days stacked with unshakable intent. Rep by rep, word by word, standard by standard. Because the mirror doesn't need to see perfection. It just needs to see consistency. And when you do this long enough, the mirror won't show regret. It won't show the ghost of goals unchased. It'll show you, clear-eyed, battle-tested, worthy. Because now, you're not just someone who wanted it. You're someone who earned it. No more flinching. No more waiting. No more almosts. Now say it with your chest. I am the result of every rep I didn't skip. I am the product of every promise I kept. I am the standard, not the exception. And I'm not done yet, but peace. Quiet, deep, earned peace. The kind that lets you look in the mirror and finally say, I don't just talk, I build. I don't just try, I transform. I don't just dream, I deliver. That version of you, they're not some distant fantasy. They're already inside you, under the weight, beneath the dust, waiting for your decision. So look in the mirror again, not to criticize, but to remember who you were, who you want to become, and what it's gonna take to bridge the gap starting now. Because in the next part, you won't just look in the mirror, you'll break it and build something unshakable. Maybe you've avoided that mirror You've gotten so good at being busy, you forgot how to be honest. You check boxes, you go through the motions, but deep down you know you've lowered your standard. And worse, you've normalized it. You tell yourself you're tired, you're overwhelmed. You're doing your best. But are you? Or are you doing what's convenient? Because you can't heal in denial. You can't lead with lies. And most of all, you can't build a life you're proud of with the same habits that broke your spirit. Let's make it practical. That workout you skip, that early morning you snooze through, that promise you break just to yourself, they matter because each one is a vote for the person you're becoming. And enough votes in the wrong direction, they build a life, one you'll want to escape from. You don't have to change everything today, but you have to change something. Even if it's just one moment, because in that moment where you normally quit, you choose different. You choose the rep, you choose the run, you choose to turn off the noise and turn back on your focus. And that one decision, it compounds. It rebuilds self-respect. It rewires your identity. It reclaims the fire in your soul. That's what the mirror wants from you. Not shame, not guilt, just truth. And if you can face it, not flinch from it, then there's nothing you can't face because the person who dares to confront themselves becomes unstoppable. And next, we step into that fire. We burn the old story. We build from the ashes. You didn't just survive, you rebuilt. Not in noise, not in praise, but in the silence most avoid. This isn't the end, it's your origin. You said yes when quitting would have made more sense. You rose early, stayed late, fought back against the easy path. You kept promises the world never saw. And in doing so, you became someone you never imagined you could be. Not perfect, not untouchable, just unshakable. This version of you, it didn't arrive by accident. It was carved, pressed, forged, one hard choice at a time. And now you know what you're made of. You no longer beg for clarity. You create it. You don't wait for permission, you move. You don't chase applause, you pursue alignment. You walk with a different kind of weight, not burdens. Standards, not fear. Fire. You know what it costs to live below your potential, and you've decided you won't pay that price again. So when the fatigue returns, when doubt visits, when old patterns whisper, you'll recognize them. And you'll keep walking. Because this isn't just momentum, it's identity. You're not pushing anymore, you're embodying. You're not seeking discipline, you are it. You've crossed into that rare place most talk about but few live in. Consistency without hype, conviction without ego, peace without passivity. And what now? You protect it, you honor it. You don't start over, you stay. Stay in the work, stay in the quiet, stay in the rhythm of your integrity. And if you ever forget who you are, don't scroll, don't escape. Return to that first rep, that first promise, that first standard you raised when no one else believed, because that's who you still are. Not some highlight, not a phase, a force that bends circumstances instead of breaking under them, a force that leads silently, that loves deeply, that lives on purpose. And if ever the noise gets too loud, come home, not to a place, to a pulse, to a knowing. This space was built for that. Mindset Mastery Hub, not a platform, a promise. To never live small again. You didn't just rise, you returned to the strongest version of you. And you'll notice something as you walk further. The world doesn't get quieter. You just stop needing it to. You stop explaining your journey. You stop asking for validation. You stop apologizing for your standard. Because when you carry peace, you don't chase attention. When you're rooted in purpose, you don't flinch at pressure. You let others talk, you let others watch. You work. In the dark, in the cold, in the repetition. Not for claps, for clarity. And as time passes, people will ask what changed. They'll ask for tactics, for secrets, for hacks, but you won't have formulas. You'll have something better. A story built in silence, a strength built in sweat, and a self built in truth. That's what makes you rare, because anyone can chase greatness when it feels good. But you built consistency in the quiet. You honored the vision when no one else could see it. You carried belief before results ever arrived. That's power. That's the power of one choice, made again and again and again, until it stops being a choice and becomes who you are. So the next time life tests you, it won't catch you off guard. You've trained for this, not in comfort, in conviction. And if ever you doubt, if ever you question your capacity, if ever the weight feels too heavy, you know where to return. To the ground you built, to the promise you made, to the truth that doesn't shake. This isn't motivation, this is mastery. Mindset Mastery Hub, where the noise ends and the real work begins. And maybe one day, they'll call you disciplined. They'll say you're strong, relentless, focused. But what they won't see is the night you almost gave up. The morning you rose with doubt still on your breath. The quiet battles you fought and won before the world ever noticed. But you'll know, you'll remember, and that will be enough. Because you didn't do this to be seen. You did it to be solid. You did it to walk through life, not needing to prove, only to live. And now you do. Here, at your pace, by your standard, you lead from within. You live with fire. Welcome home.